from system administrator, then to project manager, scrum master, release train engineer in few companies, and then currently I'm being head of software engineering. I have quite a big family. I have 3 kids, 3 boys. So you see, I'm a simple person, minimum safety measures. And I love sports. I love motorbikes. That's pretty much it about myself.
Yeah, and also Sergey, I know, is a big volunteer helping Ukrainian armed forces with different vehicles and other stuff, which is also very important. So thank you, Sergey, for this service as well. So yeah, Sergey, first a really nice journey, yes, from system administrator through project manager, scrum master, release train engineer to head of software. Yeah, please mute if you're not talking to us. So can you, Sergey, describe your company? Yeah, so we will better understand the context where OKRs were implemented.
Yeah, let's go. So we are a product delivery company. We deliver an iGaming platform. It's kind of a toolkit for building and managing online gaming websites. Includes different tools, like it's kind of all-in-one. Tools for keeping track of players, adding new games, payment providers, managing content, making sure everyone follows the rules, and everything follows the rules, maintaining different parts of the business, and so on and so forth. So yeah, we are our headquarters in Estonia. I would also probably like to get a bit deeper into the context on the next slide, if you don't mind. So we are about 100 employees, which makes for us 7 delivery teams currently. We are growing, but at the moment 7 delivery teams, plus few service teams like platform engineers, data engineers, architects. Teams are, well, people are distributed. We actually have teammates in, except Estonia, we have teammates in Serbia and in Portugal. We use Scrum framework. All the delivery teams use Scrum framework. They are somewhere aligned as per the sprint size and so on. But more or less, we are leaning towards like self-manageable teams. Technology-wise, it's Java for the backend, Angular for the front end. We also use chapters in our company. I will tell more about that later. Important thing is that our customers are not directly affiliated with Breakwater technology. Also, we'll explain why it's important later. We try to keep our teams as a feature-based comparing to system-based. So by that I mean that any delivery team is able to receive the feature or the requirements from customer and deliver it fully, completely, without like splitting it into like some extra dependencies with other teams. Technologically, we use backend and front-end microservices. So backend is fully split into the micro components and front-end partially. So we have a kind of a monolith, but we are actively working on this, on eliminating it. We use trunk-based development instead of Git flow. So we merge and deploy quite fast, and we keep the pace with the deployment automation. So basically, all the deploys are done with some like extra corner cases, but all the deploys in majority are done automatically, even to production, which also requires like some proactiveness from the developers. Yeah, and due to this like microservices approach plus trunk-based, we have different kind of dependencies. They are like cross-component dependencies, which means that when you have a lot of microservices, then few teams always work on the same service at the same time. So the dependencies is kind of become like pop up when you have to push the piece of code further through the workflow to another environment and so on. Yeah, well, so our teams are like, they consist basically from the backend developers, front-end developers, and QA engineers, which are quite important in our case because they are kind of glue, which is gluing the team together because they are widely spread through the overall flow. They sometimes make decisions in regard of deploys. At the same time, sometimes they're able to merge the code instead of the developers. So quite important part of the company.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I guess.
thank you, Sergey. I think it's very important to understand the context of the company before we jump into OKR journey. And as we have sort of the people that don't know what are the OKRs, before we jump into the journey, let's just share. Can you see my another screen right now with objective key results? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, cool. So just very quickly on what are the objectives, OKRs. So OKRs stands for objective and key results. And objectives, so first, OKRs is a goal setting framework, yes, that can help to align your company, your teams towards achieving the most important changes that you would like to do in your company or in your team. And how you do it? So you have objectives, that is a qualitative statement, goals that ideally inspire and motivate you, set direction. Yes, for example, be the number one company in this market area. Yeah. So what do I want to achieve? It's qualitative. It doesn't give you any clue about kind of quantitative part, how you will know that you became the number one in this market area. And for this, we have key results, which are indicators that measure progress towards an objective. They are quantitative, and they answer the question, how will I know that I have reached the goal? Yeah. So for example, if your objective to be the number one in some market area, then one of your key results might be is that you have increased the market share from 15% to 30%. Yeah. Or you have signed up with 100 new clients, etc. So key results give you a quantitative, so they are quantitative indicators that will tell you whether you have achieved your objectives or not. And then there is a third bit, which is important, initiatives. This is exactly what you are going to do, actions to achieve the objective. What exactly will I be doing? So OKRs in a nutshell, very simple. This is what they are. What is very hard is to create a culture where they're working, especially when we are talking about the companies like 100 people, like Sergey's case. Yeah, so this is where it becomes tricky, how to align, how to train people, how to formulate great OKRs. And yeah, so just wanted to make a very quick introduction into OKRs because sort of our participants haven't worked with them before. Cool. So yeah, and by the way, in case you have any questions, just raise your hand in Zoom. Yeah, there is electronic hand, and we will take it, so we can take actions also, questions also during our workshop, not just at the end. So Sergey, thank you for bringing the context on your company. And I know that Breakwater is actually a very great company, as I mentioned before, because I was amazed by the number of rewards you have. You have a big line of rewards of the best employee, best something in Estonia. This is really great, and you can feel the culture. So why you decided to go with OKRs, and also what you had before the OKRs?
Okay, that is simple. So first, okay, so first we try to apply some scalable agile framework, taking SAFe framework as a basis. I'm actually a big fan of it, probably as Metro as well. But it didn't fly well because in this particular case, because first of all, customers are not affiliated. And second, we were like going too fast. Customers were not quite ready to spend much time on grooming their global priorities. But it might happen that the history makes the cycle and we get back to it at some point of time. But as a result, because actually safe and any scalable agile frameworks requires the global backlog where all the business and the architectural activities are mixed and prioritized according to the current needs. But as soon as we wasn't very successful with it, we decided to separate business and the technical flows into two separate funnels. For the technical activities, technical and architectural, we kind of all of it to spend about 30% of our capacity, so we are kind of lucky with that. Yeah, so actually that's what we had.
And in terms of goal setting, did you have KPIs or some other approaches, or you used elements of SAFe, like with PI objectives? How your goals
well,
look like?
Yeah, well, actually, we have tried to apply once upon a time to apply the OKR framework like 3 years ago or something, but I would say it miserably failed due to lack of understanding, support, consistency, and involvement. So everything all together. I will explain more, I guess,
Okay.
very soon.
So it was your first attempt of trying
Well,
OKRs?
not the very first attempt in my life, but yeah, first attempt in this company, and it was not well cooked.
Okay, cool. Then let's see what changed. So then it at least it's lasted already for more than a year in the company. Cool. So yeah, so tell us why OKRs then?
Yeah, like in addition to the previous your question that what we had in the terms of the goal settings, actually we have had the understanding of our like long-term goals quite for some time, even before we started to implement OKRs. But shortly we wanted and we want to reshape ourselves from being, let's say, the pure service delivery company into the company which defines its own product strategy. And this goal or long-term objective is kind of luckily very clear for everyone and luckily touches everyone starts in the company. But we still have quite a gap between where we are and where we want to be. So we want to go through this flow, through this path in the most, let's say, transparent and measurable way. So not to get lost on the way. And OKRs, I would say they fit the best as we have our clear long-term goals. Those that I just described, very clear to everyone, and we started to work on reaching out these goals even before the idea of the OKRs appeared.
Okay, so yeah, transparency and tracking quite often one of the reasons for implementing OKRs. Yeah, so transparency and, as you said, a measurable way of achieving this inspirational reshaping goals of moving from service delivery to product organization. So tell us how your OKR journey then started.
Yeah. So how it started? We started the journey searching for the proper tool, of course, to track. We're hoping that we are able to manage everything internally by ourselves. In our universe, we heavily rely on Atlassian universe, in particular, which relates onto Jira and Confluence. And I was always thinking of having OKRs inside Jira. Actually, during the first attempt, I tried to use like the direct native Jira stuff for that. Not very convenient. But luckily, I knew that one of my ex-colleagues is been developing an Atlassian Jira plugin dedicated to OKRs. It was actually OKR board for Jira by Oboard. And as nowadays Ukrainians try to keep the connection and support each other, so I reached him out. Actually, it's Victor. He's present here, and he made quite a detailed presentation, which was quite to the point, and seemed that the tool covers all our needs. Let's say so. As I said, integration with Jira. Being functional yet lightweight at the same time, because I hate those like giant all-in-one products which then like start as a plugin and then split out some different like part of the menu in Jira. So they propose tons of functionality, like 90% of which is never used by me. And at the same time, I had several, as I said already, unsuccessful experiences of the OKRs implementation, and realized that the OKR framework is one of those which is easy to understand yet hard to implement. By the way, same as SAFe or other like or less or whatever other scaled agile frameworks. So Oboard guys advised us to ask some external trainers from uphill partners for help, which we did. And then we invited Metro. With his help, we did some, well, the very first management workshop, where we split our already existing long-term goals into like 5-year North Star goals, then more into 2-year OKRs, more deliverable goals. And then we also had like quite a wide workshop for every company member where Metro explained the framework in details to everyone. We ran a pilot quarter with the very first quarterly OKRs, which were contributing into 2-year company OKRs. And it was exactly 1 year ago, right? Because we started with Q2 and just ended the Q2 of this current year. So we are still using it. I hope better and better. But
Yeah, great. It's a great you know, like accomplishment that yes, for 1 year you are still using
yeah.
it. Yes.
Checkbox.
Cool, cool. And of course, improving and improving. We also talk about this. Cool. And I know that one of the big questions in organizations that are implementing OKRs is in what level to work with OKRs. Yeah. Like, should we just replicate the organizational structure for OKR teams? Let's say we have departments, teams, and this is becoming our OKR teams, or we should use some different approaches. And I know that you used some interesting other approach. That is why I'm asking this question. So what were your OKR teams?
Well, it brings us back to something I said before, that we use chapters from the Spotify model, and we use them in order to make sure that our delivery teams members working in the same area of knowledge, that they are still aligned. So the idea is that the chapter members have some forum to exchange ideas, to get help on different challenges, discuss new technologies, improve in the respect of the domain of knowledge. So basically, we have kind of matrix structure in this case. So we have like from one side we have delivery teams, but then we have chapters which unite people across the delivery teams around their domain. So basically we have 3 main chapters: backend, frontend, and QA, in the same way how it's split. The team is split. And for us, it had the very transparent sense to build quarterly OKRs around chapters, because logically it's the most clear way to contribute into the company OKRs. Because the whole idea of OKRs is quite aligned with the idea of chapters, because chapters, unlike teams, chapters are focused on improvements, while teams are focused on delivery. So that's why it was quite logical for us to do it in this way. I see the question, by the way, in the chat.
Yeah. So Vika, would you like to ask it by your voice, maybe add a few more context?
Hello. Yeah, so basically, Sari just mentioned that, yeah, we are still using OKRs and we are improving. And I wanted to ask, what is improving for you? Is it only about process, or what results do you see to keep using OKRs?
Should we keep this question till the end, because I think we have the slides for this, yeah? Or you would like to answer now?
Yeah, I do. Well, briefly, it's better to keep it, because I'm gonna describe all the challenges and all the benefits which I already see, and the ways how we feel that we are improving. So I guess I will cover this.
Yeah, so we will cover it a bit later, this question. Yeah.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Okay, so chapters, which drive cross functionality, etc. I also mentioned it at some point that I think your company, and I probably you didn't agree with me, but I still would like to to hear your opinion one more time. I think it's a company level OKRs in Breakwater. They also were, in the sense, cross-functional, cross-team, because they were more like some of them were like architectural, and it means that you need to work not in one team, but you need to work across teams in backend, in front end, etc.
Yeah, absolutely, because actually they are all like the company 2 years, for example, objectives. They're contributing into our 5-year goal, which is quite this kind of the goal of
North Star,
that
North
you
Star
never
goal.
reach it. Yeah, you never reach it, but you would like to reach it, and that's why actually all the those 2 years OKRs, they are touching basically every single part of the company, starting from HR, ending up with QA or whoever. But yeah, and it's quite often when, by the way, when the delivery chapters, quarterly objectives and key results are directly, indirectly, or even directly sometimes contributing to something related more to HR. So they're very often crossing and mixing.
Yeah, I remember when we had a workshop and we had company OKRs in different corners of the big room. We had, I don't remember, 4 probably company OKRs or something. And one of them was with focus on employee branding, on retention, etc. And then we asked chapters to how can you contribute to different company long-term OKRs. And I remember leadership team was very surprised when front-end chapter, back-end chapter started to put a lot of stuff on HR. Yeah.
Actually, the people tend to, because the logics here is that whatever technical improvement you make, it makes the company the technological approach kind of more cool, and the people will like to work more in our company. So in the majority of cases, it's not very direct contribution.
Yeah, but I remember that Christina, she was she had to leave early, and the next day developers started to approach in her office and asked, okay, what we can do to help you to achieve your ambitious people OKR. So yeah, it's also was a great culture aspect. Cool. And you mentioned that you have 3 main chapters: front end, the back end, and QA
engineers.
Yeah. but as I remember, we had much more, yeah, chapters. So it was around
Well,
10.
yeah, it's more like
Yeah.
these are like pure chapters because they are like across the teams, but we have more like separate departments, let's say, which also like HR, product owners, platform engineers, architects,
DevOps.
support, IT support, yeah,
Yeah.
all of
Cool.
them.
Cool. Yeah. So thank you for sharing about chapters. Yeah, I think it gives also participants of the webinar like a hint that you should not by default follow your organizational structure when you think about your OKR teams.
Mhm.
Sometimes it makes sense to make completely different setup for OKR teams. Like we
Mhm.
had a workshop last week with Will from Old School Games in French gaming studio. They each quarter they are changing their OKR teams depending on what type of contribution you need to make, what type of dependencies you have. Yeah, and it boosts a lot across cross pollination, breaking the silos, minimizing the silos, as you never
Mhm.
break the silo, minimizing the silos,
Mhm.
etc. So this
But
is
is it like necessary to change the team structure for
no,
that?
no,
Or-
it's not. It depends on what you're working on. If your objectives are quite stable, yeah, key results most likely will change from quarter to quarter. Then, yeah, you can keep your OKR teams.
Mhm.
If it's changing the objectives, most likely you will need to include other participants from other departments, and then you can consider to change the OKR teams.
Mhm. Yeah,
Cool.
okay, I think
Yeah.
that I will share like our experience on that,
Yeah.
like how we
Yeah.
cover dependencies.
Yeah. Would you like to mention it here? Or?
No, I have it
Okay.
somewhere in the
Yeah.
notes.
Okay. Cool. So the next question, Sergey, that I would like to ask is also what is important when we implement in OKRs is to build the clear for everyone in the company so-called OKR cycle. Yeah, meaning when we have what type of events, what I need to prepare, etc. So could you please describe how your OKR cycle looks like?
It definitely could. So I attached the calendar which I make every year, which means like second year, but I do it. And so the flow, the standard quarterly flow is the very first is the pre-work. So teams preparing and discussing potential candidates for their OKRs, which also contribute in the bigger level OKRs, and they store them in one shared place. We use mirror boards for that. It's kind of for us simple yet transparent. Then after that, it goes the observing and reflecting part. It's when everyone is able to go through potential candidates, leave the comments, proposals, and point out the dependencies. And here we come to the dependencies. So it's quite often when, while working on the same, on like contributing into the same like 2 years, for example, objective, one of the chapters or departments finds out that actually to fulfill it, this quarterly OKR, they have to involve some another chapter or department. So they just go to them and say, guys, we need that you take this because we want to deliver this important quarterly objective. And then the next team considers it into their list, and they might remove something out of already existing, reformat it, and so to consider all the wishes which come to them. But we don't need like to change any like kind of it. It's not like we change the team. We just involve others to contribute all together. So no need like to do any changes.
So yeah, so you're doing extra effort of aligning, yes, between OKRs between chapters. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Then what's next is then we present the plans in the front of the whole company. It takes usually half a day or so. Then we add OKRs into OKR board. We then link or tie Jira tasks, if there are any, of course, which contribute into quarterly OKRs, actually action points, right, initiatives. Then we track the progress and then we present the results. Quite simple.
Yeah. I have a question, maybe comment about this linking Jira items. Yeah. So I like what you mentioned, that if there are any, yeah. So some companies, they expect that everything should be linked to their OKRs. And this is anti-pattern, because if you're trying to link everything to your OKRs, you are starting to have OKRs as like a planning tool, that everything should be linked to your OKRs. But OKRs, not a planning tool. It's to drive significant changes. Yeah. And it might be that this team has something to help with these changes and another team doesn't. Yeah. Or maybe team has only 10% of their task contributing to the OKR.
Yeah, we don't have such a limitation, but for sure, like I'm quite a pedantic person, so if I know that people actually working in the in Jira Epic or task, then but not linking them, then I ask them to link. But it's not like a requirement or something.
If you
It's
know
okay.
that it's contributing to the key result. Yeah.
Yeah, of course,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So you also mentioned it, reflecting, yes, observing and reflecting. And reflecting is very important part, yes, in not only in OKR implementation, in any change. Yeah, in order to constantly improve. This is also related to Vika's question, yeah, on what is improved. And can you describe a bit how you do the reflecting or retrospective on OKRs?
Yeah, it's quite simple to explain, but not simple. I mean, I think that I will have to pay much more attention to it. But we had the chance to have only one retro. It was a big one. After gathering the feedback internally, we invited Metro once again. We had the session with management to do some clarifications and tweak a bit the long-term OKRs. Then we had an open discussion again for the whole company to point out the weak moments and some, let's say, unhealthy patterns. Now I feel like we actually have to do it once per quarter ideally, because some challenges that I will describe later, they tend to stockpile, and frustrate me and others. So I think that at some point we will make it quarterly.
Yeah, and this is how it should be. Yes, it should be part of OKR cycle, the formal like retrospective, before you go into new cycle, because you would like to get these learnings, not to get frustration build up. Get these learnings, try to resolve at least some bottlenecks, problems, challenges that teams have, clarify. Yeah, and Sergey mentioned it that before retro there was gathering of the feedback, and this is what I would advise to all do, not just to have an open retro. We had it for 100 people. Yes, just imagine how we will be distributed. So instead, yeah, Sergey gathered feedback. We identified the patterns, and then I already came prepared to answer on this pattern, or made some suggestions, or some options to choose from. Yeah, then it's more straight to the point, this retro. So a good preparation is needed, and not just have it open discussion. Yeah, which is also nice, but when you target the issues, yeah, it's then people are more motivated because they can relate to what is discussed in the retro. Do you remember, Sergey, what we have discussed on the retro? What topics were?
Yeah, I remember, but I guess I partially will cover them.
Okay, cool.
In the challenges part.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. So yeah, and this is where we come to it. Yeah. So as you mentioned it, you already for 1 year using OKRs, which is great. So what are the benefits and challenges you see, yes, of having it in the company? Yeah, as Vika said, not just to have it as a process. Oh, we are OKR compliant or whatever, but also the business have value and benefit out of this process and framework.
Yeah, so I will start with actually with challenges then, and it's the most challenging part of my presentation to admit the problems, right? So the very first is that I call a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. What I mean is that in my experience, if you want to become successful with OKRs, you have to do a hell amount of work convincing all involved that it will actually work. And if a person or department or team or chapter or whoever like remains skeptical towards the whole approach, towards the whole framework, it immediately affects the level of preparation and becomes very, very visible if you have like a transparent, like environment transparent enough. So which like these cases usually cause questions like, why should I work that hard on my OKRs if others could treat it not that seriously? So this is the challenge. The challenge is actually to keep working on that like weakest links and make them better to align with others. Because again, it's very visible when the level of preparation is very, very visible if you do such like exercises like presenting the results in the front of the whole company, presenting the plans and so on. So this is the pain number one. Then the pain number two is, which I called a fish stinks from the head. I already partially mentioned it in the retro part, but it relates to the management attitude. It's not enough to establish long-term OKRs and just wait for the result, you know, like to push from the top and say, okay, let's meet in 2 years and let's see what you have brought to us. No, but it's very important to review them, to tweak them if needed, to measure progress, and like in many ways to show the involvement as much as possible. And we actually revealed it during the retro, and we spent quite a lot of time to tweak a bit these 2 years OKRs, company OKRs, and I am pretty much sure we'll be touching this topic on a quarterly basis because it's also very, very important for all the people in the company to have this feeling that actually management cares and the company cares and pay enough attention to it. Then the third one, the one which you already mentioned, it's about should the OKRs be the tool for prioritization or not. Again, it's only like from my angle and from our angle. But as I mentioned, that we are all to address up to 30% of our capacity towards the technical and architectural improvements. And as soon as we introduced the OKRs and started to work with them, a lot of people in chapter started to use this like bottom-up approach, trying to align every single like piece of technical depth or improvement to the company objectives. But it's not like black and white only. So from one side, it has provided much more understanding of the technical priorities actually for the people, which I was always like struggling with. But from another side, it slows down the pace in achieving the long-term objectives because the connection between these like pull it from the bottom activities, the connection to the 2 years goals and 5 years goals, it's super weak and very artificial in some cases. But actually last quarter, one of chapters tried to fully eliminate this approach. I mean, the like prioritization, let's say, approach. By fully, I mean fully, like to get rid of this kind of stuff. But it turns out it also has some cons, as in this case, it's quite challenging and hard to estimate and track this kind of a proper key results. And sometimes somehow even discourages the chapter members. So probably there should be or might be some balance in between. So not only
So,
like pure
yeah.
outcome based key results,
Mhm.
but give some level of freedom, at least on the way, you know, towards the
Yeah, so of course we all hear that ideally your key results are more outcome based. Yeah, this is what we should strive for. But sometimes for teams it's difficult to relate to them, or you need more time in order to harvest the result. Yeah, of outcome based. So that is why a good balance, a mixture between outcome and output is okay. Yeah, you should never have input type of key results, which is just basically your actions. Yeah, I need to do this. This is not a key result. But output, which is not really describing the value, but describing the result. I don't know, established something, delivered something. So having this mixture between outcome and output is okay. Yeah. So what you said is that teams try to use OKRs in the beginning as a way to get some technical data ideas, and sometimes they artificially link it in order to say that this is supporting OKRs. Yeah.
Yeah, but they actually are still trying. So if you could switch to the next slide, because the next point is closely connected to actually the prioritization way of doing things. So concentrating on measurements, the measurability, it's connected. So to add proper definitions and measurements might be treated as a last thing to do in the overall like flow, right? And sometimes even excessive and not necessary. Like we all understand what is this key result about and how it will contribute. Why I have to spend time like to think on like how to measure it and so on. But it leads at the end to decreased transparency and to decreased abilities to actually track progress, right? And it's also at some point it starts to discourage actually team and or chapter members. All right. So if they use some like close to input based key result, which is basically only could be like yes, no, implemented or not implemented, that they even can't say that are we doing good or not that good, because it's either 0% or 100% success.
It's a lagging indicator. Yes, we can measure it when we achieve it just at the end. So ideally, key results are leading indicators, so you can track the progress regularly, let's say every second week during the quarter, and see whether you're on track or not. Yeah.
So yeah, basically people usually don't want to pay enough attention to both to the type of the key result they propose and to the measurements they propose. And most common cases when people escape into the input-based or learning key results, right? Which is also might be valid, like learning, for example. But in general, it's actually one of the biggest problems so far for us. And how we're gonna address it is that we would like to form some kind of a guild with the people who actually care. We have like super micro guild consisting of me and Yano. He is also here, but we will probably extend it and invite more people, because there is always visible when those people are visible who are interested, who care, and so on. So we will form kind of a guild, and instead of like pushing the knowledge from the top, we will try to spread it like from the inside. I don't see we can infinitely invite you, but looks like it has its limitations, you know, from the perspective of like how they are able to consume the information as valid and useful. So that's what we're gonna do, and
if you let me just to stay on OKR Guild. So this is kind of a good approach when you started the OKR implementation, that it's not driven by only one person, like Sergey was very enthusiastic, then Yana joined it as well, yes, but still for 100 people, it's not enough. Yeah, you need people that are closer to teams, that have time to coach them on how to formulate better, answer their questions, and that is why establishing the guild among the people that like the topics, that would like to know how to establish good OKRs, is actually a great way of supporting and supervising your OKR implementation. Yeah. Then back
There
to
is
your
a
challenge.
question. There is
Yeah.
a question about the measurements, so we can I can answer on the fly. Probably it's about how to measure.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell from my perspective. So our chapters are actually they have already the habit to they have chapter meetings bi-weekly or weekly, depends on chapter, and they a part of their agenda is to actually measure, discuss, and update the progress of their OKRs. And they simply update it into the Oboard, so that overall we see the progress. Of course, it pretty much depends on what we have said about the measurements themselves, like itself. Because if like 100% of the key results are Boolean, then it's like 0 till the end of the quarter. But luckily, it's not always like that. So yeah, chapters update their part. We can see overally, and the Oboard in particular has some reporting, so we can see like aggregated data on the overall progress, like would be per chapter, either per 2 years objective or like company aggregated, so quite visible. And yeah, except measurements, you can also like manually mark the status, like are we on track? Actually, it has the status on track, or are we like behind, or what is actually the overall, let's say, even gut feeling you can reflect through this status. So
Yeah.
did I answer your question?
Yes, yes, thank you for answering. I was also thinking, actually, my company is also using this method. They have defined OKR, and the next step is to measure it with the sprint review. And I was thinking how to do this measurement. And the idea I had is that it really depends on the gut feeling of the chapters. They can only say if they are on track or they are falling behind or if they are delayed based on how they planned the key results across the quarter.
But it also it's very much, as I said, it very much depends on the quality of the key result and the measurement proposed. So if it is something like really proper, like I don't know, increase the frequency of the deploys of some, like I don't know, some particular aspect, then it's quite easy because it's trackable on the online, and you can like get the data 1 week before, then 1 week, then 1 week, then 1 week, and you can compare on the fly like how are you progressing. But this is the best case, is the proper key result.
Yeah.
Gut feeling usually means that we didn't pay enough time to actually propose the good key result.
Yeah.
But
Thank you.
yeah, welcome. I can continue, right, Dmitro?
Yeah, I just would like to add. So I think the first important steps that you did here, you so Mia, sorry if I spelled, and you Sergey, is that you have regular these OKR reviews. Yeah, they quite often called OKR check-ins. This is the first important step. Have them bi-weekly. And also having them as part of existing meetings, like you would like to have it as part of sprint review, is much better than have a separate OKR review. Why? Because you would like OKRs to be part of your business, of your daily work. And if you are looking at them during sprint review, where hopefully your stakeholders join in, it shows that OKRs matters, that they're important. Like OKRs in Sergey, as I understand, in Breakwater, it's part of chapter meetings, where they look, it's not a separate OKR review meetings, it's part of chapter sync meetings where they look at OKRs. Again, it shows that they are important and it's not just a separate meeting that we will talk about on Friday or other day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So Sergey, please continue.
Yeah, so now that was about like the biggest challenges, but overall we have benefits, at least very visible benefits, at least for me. So first is the overall feeling of the connection, because actually, as I mentioned in the part about the chain is only as strong as its weakest link, that it's very visible who takes it seriously and who does not take it that seriously. But we have quite a big part of the company who takes it really seriously, because it gives this feeling of the direct connection to the company goals, and that feeling that you have like quite a big level of freedom to propose and to contribute into the company's direction. And that like most people on some certain like quite different level. And in this like atmosphere, any initiative on the chapters level, on the teams level, becomes very visible. So people started to feel that they have a lot of opportunities to affect the product, to affect the company's objectives. And it also brings, as I mentioned, that it's very visible who is active, who is proactive, who understands the whole idea, and so on. So it brings a lot of opportunities to show the leadership to the people as well. And this is quite a satisfying thing, maybe partially answering the Vika's questions. And transparency is also connected in general to this feeling of connection, because the whole approach provides, as for me, quite a clear path to address any bright ideas that come to their minds, to the people's minds. And it also gives the significant level of satisfaction from the delivery of chapters OKRs on actually every level. And as I mentioned, the understanding of the long-term goals of the company and so on. So the understanding of how things are connected to one another, like starting from the quarterly part, then to 2 years part, and end-to-end goal. And like in general, there is some feeling of satisfaction that I could observe, and I could reflect it like from my perspective as well. It's quite satisfying to see the progress while chapters become more mature with understanding of the framework, work better with measures, try to analyze like how this particular quarterly objective is connected to the 5-year North Star goal. So the progress sometimes is quite visible, and it brings satisfaction.
Yay! Cool. Music to my ears.
Did I answer at least partially your question?
Maybe, do you see, apart from giving some focus for chapters, have you managed to do some significant changes with OKRs? What was your, I know, OKRs the last year or objective for the last year, and have you achieved it or no? Has it improved something in your company?
Well, I can tell that, for example, I don't want to like go too deep into the like company stuff, but for example, if to take some overall data which could be shared, it's that the quality of how we call it. Let me see how we call it in real life. So it's about the delivery consistency, let's say. So it's how consistent are the delivery teams in their delivery process, and we use some like measurements on this, even on the teams level, on the sprints level. And this is one of the 2-year objectives, which is, as Dmitro mentioned, that actually everyone could contribute into that. Like splitting the monolith will definitely contribute, because it's actually decreasing the time to market and like isolating the pieces of the system. I don't know, bringing some coaching like on the Scrum Masters from the Scrum Master side definitely will contribute. So this is something where like every single chapter or department could contribute. And we used measurements, like not as you said on a yearly perspective, but we have some 2-year goal, like to have the measurements reached. And actually, just in the same way as for any other 2-year OKRs goals, we have endpoint measurements, but they are measurable on all the way. So on every quarter, and of every quarter, I do like the fresh measurement and compare it to the previous one and compare it to the endpoint goal. So, and this is how it works with everything.
So are you getting closer to the end goal?
Slowly,
Is it progressing? Yeah. Okay,
yeah.
good.
But we are getting better. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, slowly, but in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. No, it's in general one of the outcomes of that I mentioned of the retro is that 2 years objectives should not be abandoned. So the results should be measured, and we have to reflect the current state, saying like we are still on track or we are behind, and it should be done like definitely on a quarterly basis.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you, Vika, for the question. Thank you, Sergey, for in-depth answer. So, and thank you for being honest with the challenges. Yeah, I think this is also what is valuable for our participants.
I can tell you, like at the last slide, I have something to add. But
yeah, this is
about
what
the challenges.
Yeah, okay, yeah, because I would like to see kind of what are the next steps. Yeah.
Yeah, like basically, as I wrote here, it's like a relentless improvement process. So the plan is simply to always try something new, try it better, retrospect, learn and correct. But it's not like only roses on the way. And sometimes you feel like you're swinging on the swings, actually. So you feel like everything is getting better. Yeah, they understand everything much better. And then again, they still don't get it. And the frustration comes again, depression, like alcohol and so on. But I'm joking. And so it's definitely not only roses, but at the same time, yeah, you see some progress, and when you see it, you are definitely satisfied. So my final thought will be that if you guys are interested to discuss and share your cases compared to my case, feel free to knock into my LinkedIn. I promise to be more active in there. And especially if you are from Estonia, we can even make some like guild to share these successes offline or whatever. So feel free to connect to me and discuss.
Yep. Thank you, Sergey. I think this concludes our OKR journey story. So we will have time for Q&As, if any. But before that, I would like to make another poll, which is return on investment of your time. Let me launch it. So please honestly assess. So how would you raise the return on investment from attending today's event? Jackpot, gain it more, and lost cause is more time spent than value received. Yeah, so please respond, then I will share the results. And while others are responding, if you're done, you can think of questions if you have any. Yeah. Oh, Ola, and if you can share the case study. We also have a case study based on Sergey's journey, but I think Sergey gave it in much more flavors and details today. But if you also would like to read it, then Ola will share in the chat also the case study. Okay, 14 out of 24 responded. 17, 7 more. I'm counting down from 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and poll. Okay, yeah, and I share results. So great that we don't have a lost cause. This is great. Yeah, and the majority is break even, which is okay. Yeah, and we have a big part, 48% is see it's more than break even, which is great. So Sergey, thank you for your insightful journey. You see that it was valuable for people. So
Thank you.
yeah, and now we can take some questions, if any. And before that, Sergey, you didn't see this slide. I prepared this one, just some pictures on how we did it from our workshops. Actually, I did it with my colleague, Sophia. So we had a virtual and off-site and online mixed hybrid setup. And you can see this is the wall of rewards that I entered in. And I think it's much more now since then. Yeah, so it was super fun what we did. So, any questions?
Again, thank you very much for inviting me and letting me reflect.
Let's do it in 1 year. See what changed, how you improved, etc. Okay, yeah, it looks like no questions. Thank you very much for your time. Oh, Vika has a
Yes,
raised
yeah,
hand.
I have a
Vika,
question.
Vika. Yes.
Sorry. If you wanted to finish earlier,
No,
I have a
I didn't
question.
want. No.
Sorry, what is the average number of objectives you have in key results?
Well, that's an interesting point and connected to the quality of the objectives and key results on the quarterly level. On the company's level, I wouldn't say we have a lot of them. Let me give you the exact information. So on the company level, we have, to be precise, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 objectives. Each objective usually has from 1 to 3, 4 key results. But that's like the company level. On the quarterly level, on the chapters level, it really depends a lot on the level of the preparation. More time they spend on preparing them, thinking like how to cook the proper objectives and key results, less amount of key results and objectives comes out. And this will be probably my next message to everyone, that guys, if you want to have like one objective and one key result, better have one objective and one proper key result rather than like producing a hell amount of them but non-measurable, input based, and so on. So this will be probably my very important message.
And maybe
Cool.
one more practical process question. From like, what do you stick for to cascading or to laddering, or what is do you have some balance between proposing OKRs from bottom to top or cascading them from top to bottom?
We don't use the top bottom approach at all, except the company 2 years OKRs. So we proposed the company 2 years OKRs. That was like top bottom aligned with everyone. But all the quarterly objectives and key results are going from bottom to top. Just we put attention to actually the quality of them, and we will put more of attention. But we never say like, you guys this quarter should do this in order to contribute into this. Like with the exceptions where it could be dependencies between different chapters. But like if something causes the dependency, the initiator is like from bottom to top, so still bottom top approach.
Yeah, so it's laddering part, Vika, that is used. So there is a big trust in the company to chapters, which is great. But of course, there is a part of challenging. Yeah, if something is fishy, then Sergey and other leadership team will come and challenge and discuss. This is how it should be. Yeah. Cool. We have a question from John. John, would you like to voice it out?
Yeah, if you can hear me.
Yeah.
So basically, I'd like to learn from your mistakes, if you did any, of course, Sergey. Thanks for your presentation. I just, quickly want to ask if you would do anything different from like what you did if you were to do it again.
Yeah, briefly, everything is connected to whatever I said. Like if I knew it before ahead, I would do it differently. Like maybe I would introduce retros at the very beginning first. Second, I would keep the management attention to the 2 years OKRs, like shape and progress, also quarterly basis, like from the very beginning. Third, I would pay much more attention to this, what I shared with Vika about like quality over the quantity, like from the very beginning to send this message that guys, it's not about like how many quarterly OKRs you propose. It's about like how it's about the quality of them. Other than that, we did everything right.
Man, you're great. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we have one more question from Sabrina. Sabrina, would you like also to voice it out? And if you are on mute. If not, then we will just read it. So
how did you incorporated OKRs into employee evaluations if you did it? We actually didn't do it at the end of the day. There were like some intentions from the very top management, but we luckily avoided it successfully because in general it might be a awful idea.
Yeah, it was a strong recommendation from the consultant not to do this. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? No? Then thank you very much for your time. One more time, thank you to Sergey for great preparation. Yeah, all have a great evening and see you in May. We will have workshop where companysteward.com last mile delivery will share their journey from UK. So stay tuned. It will be announced end of week, I think, on Meetup group.
Thank you guys. Bye bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.